Have you ever not gone for something, not because you didn't want it, but because you assumed the answer would be no? Because of your body, your age, your size, or the color of your skin? For so many women, and especially for Black women, pleasure hasn't felt like a birthright. It felt like a risk to hope, a risk to want, a risk to believe you might actually be welcomed. And here's what matters. Those beliefs didn't come from nowhere. They were learned, they were protective, and historically, they were often true. So, what happens when the world starts to change, but the beliefs in your body don't? What happens when you reject yourself before life even gets the chance to respond? Today's conversation is about pleasure, not as an escape from reality, but as a technology for the truth. Pleasure as the thing that keeps you open instead of contracted, curious instead of resigned, available for a new outcome. Because when a woman follows her pleasure anyway, especially in a world that taught her not to, she doesn't become naive, she becomes fucking free. This episode is about race, pleasure, and what becomes possible when the belief that once protected you no longer gets to run your life.
I'm Marta Kagan.
I'm Barbara Katznelson.
Welcome to the Sensual Sisterhood podcast, where pleasure is not a luxury. It is the way back to yourself. All right. So today we have the great privilege of being joined by Annette Freeman, who is the owner and headmistress of the Goddess Portal. I fucking love that. And the Goddess Portal is a pleasure coaching business that helps women live from pleasure so they can go for the joy in life and get everything that they want. And Barbara and I have been able to work with Annette in a variety of capacities. We're so excited for this conversation because it is timely, it is important, and it is the truth. So Annette, you and Barbara were having this conversation the other day about your desire to teach at a pole studio, I believe it was. Take us there, kind of give us the context so we can drop into what this conversation is really about.
Wait, hold up. Rewind. I just want to say this before we start with Annette, just for everyone watching, just so you know, this is the pleasure paradigm we're in right now, the pussyverse, the Goddess Portal. And here in the pleasure paradigm, pussy has a consciousness. And pussy is equal opportunity. She does not see color. She likes it all. She likes all the colors. She is like, gimme, gimme, gimme. She likes the good and the bad. That's what pussy consciousness does. So I want that to be the thing that lands in your body and colors the whole conversation as you're listening along, because it's really important, because she's got a consciousness and it's powerful and it's big. And we believe that this is the way that will help us all change the world, because we need some serious change right now. Annette is a pleasure coach like both of us. And one of the tools we use is bragging. And we actually do the tools. We practice them all the time. So I was talking to Annette, and Annette's like telling me about a brag she had. And I was like, yo, you got to be on.
Wait. Can I pause for a second? Because some people listening are not going to understand what we mean by bragging, right? Like the word bragging, it has this negative connotation out in the world, especially for women. So just real quick, let's define it.
Do it.
Okay, so we brag because we have been conditioned, particularly as women, to stay small and modest and humble, right? To get along and not draw too much attention to ourselves. And that's been so conditioned into us that most of us don't even realize it's been conditioned into us. We just do that. So in sisterhood, in the sensual sisterhood, in our work as pleasure coaches, we flip the script on that. And we teach women specifically to brag, to celebrate the little wins and the big wins in life, to celebrate one another. So when we gather, instead of just complaining and bitching about what he did and what she said and what's wrong with the world, we take a moment to acknowledge what is great about it, what is wonderful about our lives, as a way to both reclaim that power and just to feel the pleasure of living in an alive way. Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
So we're bragging. Sorry to interrupt, but just wanted to
No,
clarify.
that was good. That's so good. I'm glad that you did that because again, this goes back to pussy consciousness. In pussy consciousness, bragging is the bomb. And when you do it long enough, you understand why it's the bomb and it helps you celebrate. And then there's more things to fucking celebrate. What you focus on expands. So when you're celebrating the small and big wins, you got more to celebrate. So anyway, I'm talking to Annette and she's bragging to me and she has this amazing brag. And one of the things that's amazing about when you do brag and you have this connection with women in sisterhood, you get to reflect things back to them that you hear in your own experience. And that's called frames. It's like, what'd you see? What'd you notice? What did you get? And it's neutral. And I was in such celebration with her about what she said because I was like, yo, you just like change generational trauma for yourself. And she was like, oh, yeah, because she was just giving the brag. But then I was like, it blew my mind. I wanted her on the podcast because I was like, this is so big. It's so deep. And so, can you share the brag?
Absolutely. And first, let me just say thank you both for inviting me on to the Sensual Sisterhood podcast. I am honored and I am completely grateful.
So grateful to have you.
So, when I was talking to Barbara, I was bragging that I was going to be teaching an S Factor feminine fluid movement class. Now, that is when we bookend, that's the end of the bookend.
Mhm.
But the beginning of the bookend is I have been doing S Factor for 19 years.
Mm. Well
And
bragged.
thank
Well,
thank
right. I'm right there with you. I'm 18. Yeah.
you. And when I started, I was in my 40s. I was size 4 or 6, something like that. And I kept going and I loved it. And then I left for a long period of time. And then when I started doing this pleasure coaching and started on my path towards pleasure, those two communities became like one for me. So then I went and I actually got a certificate in being able to teach this S Factor movement. I then moved from New York to North Carolina. North Carolina, when I moved here, had one pole studio. And she actually had to frame that pole studio like it was fitness.
Right.
So I live in what they consider the Bible Belt, although this particular town that I live in is a lot more open. We're surrounded by conservative
Okay.
feelings, Bible Belt. Subsequently, other pole studios opened, and the one that I was going to close down. So I went to this new pole studio, and they have an aesthetic of fitness and competition, and
Mm.
women in there, they're white and they're thin, and it's really about fitness. Forget the floor, learn more tricks, climb, climb, climb. I can't climb. After 19 years, I still can't climb. That's another story. So after getting my certification in S Factor, which I had gotten years ago, like 8 years ago, I've had it all this time, that I just said, you know what? It's time really for me I'd love to be able to teach this because I want to do this movement. So I approached the studio and I wrote them a proposal on this feminine fluid movement, gave them all the background for Sheila Kelly, S Factor, my background. They've seen how I dance, and I didn't hear from them. And when I didn't hear from them, months went by.
Mhm.
And here's what I thought, because this is the conditioning.
Yeah. This is really important. I want everyone to like, this is the key right here.
You're too old. They don't want somebody who's 63 years old teaching pole or feminine movement. Second, You're black.
Yeah.
3, you're fat. Our students aren't going to get you. We don't really get you. It's okay for us to collect your money. You can do your thing over on the side. But you coming in and actually being a teacher and saying that you teach at this pole studio, I don't know. That's what was going through my head on why I didn't hear from them. And that put me into a swamp, a spiral. Then, of course, given pleasure and pussy, it's, I'm going to please myself. Fuck them. I'm going to do it on my own.
Well
Yeah.
bragged. Well
Yeah.
bragged.
Yeah.
Love that.
So, right after Christmas, because they were busy, they got back to me. They were like, "Hey, I'm so sorry. We didn't get back to you. You know, it's like 2 of us running the studio, and then we also work. So we're so sorry to get, we'd love to have you come send us the description of your class, your bio. We're going to set you up. You want to do it 2 times a month?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's just start with 2 times a month." And I started my class, and my first class was full, completely full.
So well bragged for
What?
you. That's more evidence. That's more evidence.
Yeah,
More evidence.
yeah.
Okay. This is so
You
hot. All
know,
right. Let's
and one of the students who came was one of the teachers that teach, because she read it. She's like, "I think I need this. I want
Oh
to
my
see what this."
God. Oh my God. Okay. This is so good. So well bragged. Guys, because I wanted to rewind at one point, but you were talking so like well that I didn't want to stop you. If we go back to, I love that she was like, I need this because you were like, first of all, it's such a fitness based thing. And the fitness stuff that goes back to the paradigm that we live in, the conditioning. It's all aligned with what we're talking about here with the racism and how we are taught to have our bodies be obedient to our mind. So, of course, if we're doing even a strip pole class, we got to use it for performance, for the male gaze. And it's so that we make our bodies look hot and we're still not in a place where now our mind becomes obedient to our body. But what S factor is that it's a different thing. And it does have the physical component and the strengthening and the conditioning and the physical exertion, but that is not the goal. So, do you want to talk a little bit about like even how I love that the owner came to the class because she got that from the description. So clearly what your word said, it landed with her for her to want to come. So can you talk a little bit about like, did these women get the difference? Was there feedback? What happened after the class?
Well, one of the women who came was not one of the owners. She was just one
Oh,
of the teachers in the school, but she
okay.
had read the description, and then she's like, I think I want to do this."
Mhm.
But I'm going to rewind to say, like, I had done another class in the studio for my own. Every month, I have my own Goddess Portal Sunday Salon. And back in September, I had had a gathering at the pole studio. So one of the owners had to, well, she had to open the studio because she, I'm renting I'm renting. And then we split the costs. So she was there kind of checking off names and, doing what she does in the studio. And the funny part is she's like, I got to a point, it's like, I don't know. I didn't know whether I could stay. It seems so intimate.
Mhm.
Like, of course you could have stayed. But the energetics, when a woman is not into her feminine openness
Mhm.
and she is doing things for performance or looking a certain way, the energetics are going to not align.
Yeah.
And so part of me thinking that I was not going to get the class, be able to do the class, is because one of the owners, she felt like she couldn't stay, she couldn't be there.
Mhm.
But I knew that this would be such a great addition to the school and to all the women who come, that I just couldn't help but continue to pursue that avenue.
Yeah.
And
So hot.
that's like, look, I gotta tell you, like out here is hard. And when they say pleasure is revolution, it is revolution because it is not easy to have to step through all these hurdles
Yeah. Yeah.
and getting such resistance and pushback. And I'm only using the S Factor class as one example. The pushback and the blowback to pleasure
Yeah.
is so hard that we just have to reach for more pleasure to
Yeah.
keep doing it.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just this morning, I was all the time, by the way, just this morning, Meta took down something I posted the other day with photos of Barbara and I, and the whole message was around, what turned on women prioritize and what they don't apologize for. And it was a very empowering message. And they took it down. And the rule that I supposedly broke was soliciting sexual activity, like as if we're encouraging women to go out and be prostitutes. And, if that's what you want to do, but that's not what we're talking about. And it's like, that's a constant thing, right? This like fine line, this dance between, oh, is it fitness or is it wrong and shameful? If it's wrong and shameful, we can't have it in this town, on this platform, etc. And I would imagine that when you then introduce layers into the conversation, it becomes even more difficult and loaded. So let's get into that a little bit,
Yeah,
because
like in the Bible Belt, especially in a conservative Southern place. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can say just today was somebody reached out to me, one of my sorority sisters, and she's like, Annette, we'd love you to come in this month and teach a class. Teach a class. That's what she said, and teach a class. I was like, hey, I'm going to teach the feminine movement class. Just so you're clear, this is what I'm going to be teaching because I also am a Zumba teacher.
yeah.
And I just finished reading like when you get the highlights of an email.
Yeah.
It was
Sounds
kind of
great.
passive aggressive that says, well, I don't mind if you teach the feminine. And I was like, I'm not even going to open it and read it before. So what I'm sticking with is I'm not, if she's looking for me to teach Zumba, I'm not doing it because I'm not doing it. I don't want to do that. I
Yeah.
teach Zumba to seniors. These
Right.
women, these girls, they're in their 30s, 40s, 50s,
Mhm.
60s, and 70s.
Mhm.
Um, I teach Zumba too for the music for seniors and people who have dementia.
Mhm.
And it's a whole different other thing.
Yep.
For these girls, I'm teaching feminine movement. So I'm going to read her email. And if it's like a passive aggressive thing, it's like, this is what I'm teaching. And that's all I'm teaching. And if I'm not teaching that, then I'll help you find somebody else.
So, Annette, talk a little bit about why. Like, why do you feel that way? Why is pleasure so important? We talk about this on every episode, but we can't talk about it enough because people will come and watch the podcast and nod and be like, yes, I get it. I get it. And then you go back out into the world, and the world tells you that pleasure is a luxury and it's frivolous and it's indulgent and there's no time for it. And we have bigger fish to fry. And P.S., it's also naughty and dirty and wrong.
Yes.
So, talk about your view on that and why feminine movement is the direction you're committed to versus fitness.
Yeah. I also failed to tell you that, this person who came to me, she's a Black woman in her
Mhm.
40s.
Mm,
She's also one of my clients. So in other words, it's like Annette, I get it, but I don't know
Right.
right, right.
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I love the whispering, and it all is aligned with the episode. Let's answer the question, and then we're going to go into the deeper stuff. And then also, can we talk about what Marta just asked you and how that also fits into the feedback? Because the class was full, and then that teacher came, and how that worked out for you.
yeah. So I want to go back to the idea of also Black women
Mm.
because my class was full when I taught my S Factor class, it was only white women.
Mm,
My client who wants me to teach for this other group, they're going to be all Black women. What I'm finding is that the movement part when they get into it, it's almost something that they wish they had had. So what I'm finding is that you don't know what you want, but I'm going to have to show you what you want, but you're going to have to be willing just to say yes.
Yeah.
And what I'm finding is in the Black community, the women don't even want to say yes. And I don't know whether
Interesting.
because they think they know it all already, or we're not supposed to do that. One woman I remember was like, oh, I just got saved again. Being saved and getting into pleasure, it's all the same thing. It's not different. It's not different. And with this movement, the feminine movement, the white women will say yes. At least they will say, yes, let me just try this. It might be interesting.
Mhm.
So, you know, so I'm finding like a lot of what I attract is white women. And
Mm.
it's so funny. Brittini, I don't know whether you know Brittini.
Yeah.
She'd ask me, I get Black women in my class and big pussy energy. I was like, well, just get some Black women to come in and take class,
Yeah.
and they will
Right.
attract other Black women. So
Yeah.
I'm finding the same thing, and I'm a Black woman.
Yeah. Not only are you a Black woman, you've got credentials. Like Annette, before Annette was a pleasure coach, she was working at a high position at MSNBC. She's highly educated. I mean, you floss with like high end, high caliber type people. She wasn't doing this forever.
Annette is an Emmy-winning producer who
Emmy-winning.
has in the
Emmy-winning.
and covered some of the biggest stories and met some of the most fascinating people alive today. And now she's dedicated to this other cause, which it's just interesting to me that like it's not surprising that there's so much resistance, but I'm very curious about why you think
Yeah.
there's more resistance among Black women. Is this just purely a factor of white privilege where white women feel less risk, or do you have a theory as to what's at play?
To be perfectly honest with you, I don't know. I
Mhm.
really don't know. I know for me, when I did this work, there's a tool that we all know called the swamping tool.
Mhm.
And I'm not sure whether your listeners know about swamping, but ideally, it is a tool that allows me, to have something that is really on my mind, something that I'm angry about, or sad about, or worried about, or raging about, and it allows me to express myself. Now, when I first started doing this tool, I got it right away. It was like, holy yes, I want to express myself. I am pissed off. I hated my father at the time. I hated my ex husband. I hated the boyfriend that told me that I was too old. I hated a lot of shit. I had a whole lot of rage inside of me. And so this tool was amazing because it took me through the rage of it, the sadness of it, the worry of it, and then the transformation of it in the pleasure and the turn on was the alchemy. And that tool, after I had done all my work on myself with my folks during classes, I had an experience of alchemizing a memory of slavery that was so profound. It changed the cells in my body, generations that came before me and generations in front of me.
Just gave me chills.
I know. I'm fucking my whole pussy is like everything, my legs, the vibration is real. I felt that in my body just now. So that is how deep this work can go for people if they let themselves, if they are, like you said, like Annette said before, if you are willing to go there, and it doesn't happen overnight and it takes time. So it's not as scary as it may sound going back there, but the benefit is like you got to alchemize that. It didn't just take you back there and you got stuck there, right? And re-traumatize yourself, right? That's also a really important distinction. It sounds like what you're saying is you got healing, right?
Yeah.
Yes. That's exactly what I'm saying. I got healing for myself where I thought that if I were to go into those dark places, that I would never come out. I would never stop
Yeah.
screaming, or
Yeah.
I would never stop crying, or I would never stop punching somebody, or God help me burn my house down.
Right.
That's how much rage I had.
Yeah.
And this work, the pleasure work that we do, is the alchemy. It
Yeah.
allows us to process, get out our emotions, no matter what they are, the dark ones, as we say, and then pass it through our body, and then use our turn on, our pleasure center to alchemize that so we come out on the other side. Now, we have to do this over and over and over again. I had that experience, a deep experience of that slavery in chains. I was in a room full of other women. So it was about 200 of us. So I was in a room with other women. And so that was very intense. And I still do it swamping, not on that particular subject. Sometimes it comes up and sometimes it doesn't. But be able to use that on a regular basis because I want to stay in the work. I want to stay in pleasure. I want to get up in the morning. I want to see the news. I want it to be like, oh God, that's really fucked up. It is fucked up. It's in my body, it's in my cells, but I can't keep that and I'm not going to keep it. So I'm going to swamp. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, that is so good because the truth goes back to what we started the episode with. So here's the thing with we all have beliefs. As a white woman, I got fucking crazy beliefs too. And the beliefs can either run you and limit you, or you can be like, fuck that. The goddess in me is in charge. And so the goddess gets fed by the pleasure, right? So if the goddess has enough pleasure, she's got the confidence to be like, I know these beliefs. And especially in your situation, those beliefs still hold true in places today, right? But you
Right.
did not let it stop you from following your desire to reach out and say, all right, I'm going to go and teach all these white women, right, in this white studio that's obsessed with fitness. And I'm going to go do this. And you did. And then all of a sudden, not only did they say yes and they invited you and the class was full, but here's the cherry on top is the bonus is that then what comes back to you is that it showed you, wait, that belief is just a belief. It's not always true.
Right. Exactly. See, those concepts of society, those kinds of things are ping ponging inside me. Oh, that's not okay. I'm not being called for this. I'm not being called for that. I'm not going to, And so, even through like bragging that I can get it out and swamping that I can get it out, I think it kind of moved the energy a little
Yeah.
bit. They
Yeah.
even had to just respond, whatever way that they had to, just respond. And so, I believe and I know that using these tools moves the energy so much faster. It doesn't get stuck. So whether they came back and say, "Oh yeah, Annette, you have the class," or "You know what, we thought about it and we just," it came back quickly because I had finally spoken about it. See, all those months I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything, but that's what I was thinking. But once I became like transparent, had a place in sisterhood to be transparent and to
Yeah.
be honest
Yes.
and to get it out.
Right.
That's the thing that is the alchemy. And that's the thing that moves the energy. So they
Yeah.
came back and responded. Like within, I think it was like what, within a week, I came back and I was like, oh yeah,
There we go. Annette, I also want to uprise you for putting the proposal out there in the first place because we talked about, you wanted to do this, you had the desire, you put the proposal out there, And then you waited, and it was only after there was silence for a while that these thoughts came up. But those thoughts didn't come up then. They were there when you wrote the proposal. They just weren't the loudest voice because you were trusting pussy. You were trusting your body, not the voices up here. And then what happens is you put the thing out there, you put the desire out there, and now brain starts speaking up, conditioning, fear, all the stuff that we swim in constantly when we are not coming back to pussy and body. And I just want to upright you for doing that in the first place and for being embodied enough to recognize that the story's coming up and that there is a tool that can move this through and out of you and alchemize it regardless of the outcome, regardless of how they come back to you. And then the cherry on top being, of course they wanted you. Of course they felt the power. Of course the class was full and so on. So
Oh
yeah,
my God,
just
I'm getting so many chills because it's like, this is it. So this is what happens when you have pleasure, the toolkit, you finally fucking have a choice moment. Before there wasn't a choice,
mhm.
right? You'd collapse into the belief and be like, fuck it, fuck them, I'm out. It's the same shit, same story. And this is applicable not just about race, anything, age, your body, dating, doesn't matter. This is not like just about race. And I just want everyone to get this. Think about where in your life your belief about how you look, how you show up, whatever is running the freaking show.
Mhm.
Because what pleasure does is allow you to have a choice moment that you've never had before. And that's what Annette did. She saw that and she chose pleasure. And when you choose pleasure, it's an opportunity to not collapse into the belief. You stay connected to the pleasure. You move the energy. That's what she's talking about. Because if you stay in that, if you collapse into the belief, it's going to take you out. And then what you focus on expands, like I said in the beginning. And then you get more situations that prove the belief correct. Right? That's the energetics she's talking about. So she didn't self-reject herself. She didn't make herself wrong because of the belief, right? Because what happens is the belief will spiral into like a domino effect, right? And then you start to like get hard on yourself. And so then you let reality respond. I mean, the reframe really is pleasure didn't make you delusional. Because that's what the beliefs do. Pleasure made you feel available for a new fucking truth. So
Right.
now you have a new truth in your body, right?
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. You're exactly right, Barbara, because I could have stayed in that, like, it's not me, I'm too fat, and then I'm too fat, all of that, and continued on that path. And then the universe and the cells and all of that would arrange itself so that could be true. But
Yeah.
I pleasure. I
Yes.
Yeah.
stay in the tools. I stay in sisterhood.
Yeah.
So all of that, I start to see the other the other, what do they call it, reality. And the
Mhm.
reality, I gotta teach class. My pussy's on fire. I love this feminine movement. It can help other women. Oh my God, I'm not gonna stop.
Yes. This is why we keep talking about pleasure over and over. That's why we're like, pleasure isn't a luxury. It is the way back to yourself because the way I see it, pleasure gives you agency, right?
Yeah.
It keeps your body open. It allows for curiosity instead of certainty that comes from maybe a totally wrong, a false belief, conditioning that's just not fucking true. But you've made it true because you've let it stick in your body. And it gives you this ability, it gives you possibility that trumps assumption. So what happened with you was pleasure didn't erase racism. It didn't erase ageism. It didn't erase sizeism or whatever the ism is for that. It stopped those isms from dictating your choices and your experience.
Right.
And that's why it's so fucking powerful and liberating.
Exactly, Marta. Exactly. You hit the nail right on the head because years of this work, and you said this, Barbara, years of this work, pleasure turns into shakable feminine confidence.
Right.
It's
Right. Right.
unshakable. Like you could say whatever to me, and I'd be like, oh, God, okay. And know inside, I'm the shit.
Exactly,
Uh,
exactly, because you're so good with you,
When
because
I'm
you're so
in
excited.
front of you have to have something going on so I could be here. This studio, you
Exactly.
bought. And so you're exactly right. And we need to continue on this path for women because talking about it is one way, but
Yes.
adding the embodiment part and the pleasure part,
Yeah.
unfucking stoppable we are as women. And this is what I want for every woman on the planet because this is how we're going to start to move the Titanic
Yeah,
because we have to become unfucking shakable in
yes,
here.
yes.
We
In
have to. That's how we're going to start to right the ship.
Yes.
okay,
Agreed. So much. And so for everyone watching or listening, think about where might you be making assumptions right now about why something isn't happening or why you're not hearing back from this person or that person or what beliefs maybe used to be true for you. And then where can you let pleasure lead? Just one choice this week. What if you allowed yourself the luxury, it's not a luxury, but the luxury of pleasure, just that? And how would that shift just one choice that you make, one place that you show up? What would you add to that, Annette? What would be like the one takeaway call to action for our viewers and listeners today?
Oh my God, I love that prompt for that. Oh my God, I love it. It is the truth. Like I would say, like find one place and put your hand, one hand on your breasts,
mm,
other hand. Do we say pussy here?
We say
yeah,
everything.
pussy,
Okay,
pussy, pussy.
See
one
here.
on your breast and one hand on your pussy and make a decision based upon what your body is saying to you.
Mm.
That one decision. And it could be maybe you're waiting for him to call, right? Him to call. Oh, he hasn't called, he hasn't texted. Okay. And you're like, oh, I want to. Fuck it. Put your hand on your pussy, put your hand on your breast, make that call. Tell him, hey, you know what? I haven't heard from you in a while. You don't seem like the kind of guy that wouldn't call a girl back.
Uh-huh. There
Yeah.
you go. That line. See, that's the confidence I'm talking about. See that, and the thing is, there's a part of every woman who wants to fucking show up like that. You know
Right.
why? That's the goddess in you. That's been repressed. You that resonates so hard when women hear that, like, damn, she called him and said, "You're not the kind of guy who wouldn't call a woman back." It's like,
It's
I
hot.
wish like that. You know what? You can, you have it in you. You just have a shit ton of conditioning that is holding and weighing your body down, your voice in your throat. You can't say it because of all of the charge that is true and real. You need to get it out and then get into your turn on so you can be the goddess. This is how you turn shit into gold, right? You can die with just shit, or you could be the bitch who's like, that's it. I'm turning shit into gold. And it stacks because then more confidence builds more. You become more outrageous and you're like, yeah, I did that. The shit
Right.
we brag about behind the scenes is beyond the things that we're doing in our lives. I mean, this is a small microcosm example of the daily things that we're like, I cannot believe I did that, but damn, I did that. And look at
Yes.
where I'm right now. It's wild and it feeds off of each other in sisterhood because
Yeah.
you hear it and it's like all of a sudden jealousy gets erased and you're like, she just inspired me. I'm gonna fuck instead of jealousy,
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, she did that. I'm gonna do that. And then
Exactly.
Permission instead of jealousy. Yes.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
that's how we celebrate, right? Instead of being miserable and sitting around with women and be like trying to out complain each other about whose life is worse or what problems we have, we're like, yo, I just did this crazy ass. I just called this dude that I haven't spoken to in 2 years. And I stuck my hand in my pussy or I put my hands on my breast and I was like, yo, I know this is hot. All right. I'm going to let him have the privilege for maybe 5 minutes and be like, hey, you don't seem like the kind of guy who can call. Like, what's up?
That's
and
it.
let him know.
That
He's gonna melt. He's
Right.
gonna
He
say
melts.
it with pleasure. He's gonna be like, wait, I am not that type of guy. Because now you're speaking to his leadership because you're speaking from your leadership, right? You're
You
speaking
said
from your power.
right. And you said the thing. You
Mhm.
Oh,
said
this you
the
said
thing.
Yes.
But you're in pleasure, not in blame.
Yes.
exactly.
He
Exactly. That's the shift.
he
So
doesn't guy.
yeah. Yeah. And like, I do have one more question for you. Do we have time? Do you have time?
Yeah, what yeah, sure.
The
Absolutely.
question is because you are this Black woman, the way that we met was in a predominantly white, it's basically all white. And it's one of the things that I notice a lot when I'm in pleasure spaces. Everyone's fucking white. There's rare that there's women of minority. And what does that feel like for you as being one of the only Black women or the only Black woman?
Yeah, it's so funny because see, I went from a situation in that community where I was not one of the only Black women to then being one of the only Black women.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's hard. It's
Yeah.
hard sometimes. It really is because there are times when I really need to say things
Right.
and the group I have to pick. Here's the thing, because it's a good thing and it's like a thing that I am concerned about. Is one way it's a good thing is that I get to be real focused on who I share my stuff with.
Yeah.
Love
I
that.
have to be real careful, and I'm lasered when I do that. So that's the really good thing. So I develop closer relationships with a few people versus just being known to everybody.
Mhm.
And then on the flip side, being in those spaces, everybody doesn't get to know who I am.
Right. Right.
People don't all know my story.
Right.
And
Yeah.
sometimes it's like I want to be in sisterhood like that, but people, I kind of know you, but I really don't.
Right.
Because I don't share like
Right.
that. So, but you know what? For me, as who I am, that actually works out really nicely for me right now. As an introvert with extrovert qualities,
That's perfect.
really focused on my business and things, I have to be really discerning. So I would say, Barbara, there was even when we were in these big groups of women, even the Black women, we would get together at times and then, it would be like, you know what? We still want to just be part of the bigger group. So I never was a part of like an only Black woman centered and we're doing this work. They started some and they just fizzled out.
Right.
So I just likened it to this is so much more of a universal, what we're talking
Yes.
about,
Yeah.
beyond race,
Yeah.
beyond size, socioeconomic, any of that. This work is so beyond that
Yes.
we actually are all coming at one another with our universalness, our humanness, our humanity. And it's not like we don't see race. We see it totally,
Yeah.
but it's so much more than that.
Yeah.
The universal is pussy likes it all. And I love that actually didn't just work with Black spaces because pussy likes, if you're doing pussy work, she's going to bring you all together. She doesn't give,
Yeah.
either you're
Right.
going to resist, or if you're like, I'm a yes, or I'm a willing to be a yes, it's not going to matter. And that's the point here. Like, that is the real true point because the thing is that when you are in these spaces, if the work is done correctly and it's held in integrity, the Black women should feel safe to say the shit that they can't say to white women outside. Right. I invite it. I encourage it. I'm like, please I want to know. I want to know what you're going through. Just be real with me because that's how I know I can support you. Right. Because
Right.
like I've said before, pussy is the currency that runs between all of us. Doesn't matter color, age, size. I can't really be a sister to you if I don't know your lived experience. I'm not an expert in this. I don't know what it's like for you in a Black body to walk around this world. I can just empathize But that's where it stops for me. I don't know that experience. And how can I really be a good sister in sisterhood if I don't know? And then there's the block between us, right? And then it continues to keep us stuck and
Yeah.
keep us distance.
Yeah.
And it's counterintuitive to the pussy work because pussy likes it all. Pussy's equal opportunity. And once
Yeah.
you get into it, it's not something words will ever be able to describe. You get into the spaces. And if you are really truly in this, if you are in integrity with yourself and in your body and you are committed to your turn on, you're like, hit me and hit me. If you need to swamp and be like, I fucking hate white women, I'm like, bring it. You know,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel
And that's reflected inside the Sensual Sisterhood. And that's one of the reasons why we created it the way we created it. There
Mhm.
are women from all over the globe of
Mhm.
different ages. We have people in their 70s. We have people in their 30s. We have women who are black, brown, white, all the races. We have women who speak different languages. We have women who are different sizes and have had completely different journeys in terms of how they ended up on the doorstep of this sisterhood.
Yes.
It's all good, as Barbara keeps saying.
Yes.
He loves it all, and we welcome you all. And if you're not in the Sensual Sisterhood yet, we invite you to come because we swamp every week. We brag every week. We do this work. We do the tools together. We upright each other. We talk about this stuff. It's all permitted. The good, the bad, the ugly, the tears, the snot. Bring it. Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
only
Yeah.
way. It's like that Carl Rogers quote, the curious paradigm is once you fully accept all of you as you are, that's when transformation can happen. Until you can get in front of white women, you've had your trauma, you've had to deal with it. It is real. And you finally are in front of us and you're like, yo, like you feel like safe enough to be like, yo, this is how I really feel. That is where change happens because we're not judging you. We're not going to make you wrong. We're like, okay, you're totally right for having that experience and feeling
Right.
that way. How can I support you? You know, and
Right.
that's it. I'm not here to like, let's talk about it or whatever bullshit. That's your experience. You're allowed to have it. And how can I support you and not letting it fucking run your life, be your desire, be in your leadership, right? Because now you're impacting and actually changing and help supporting white women, right? But if you were still thinking like, oh, these white, like this, like you wouldn't have done that, you
Right.
know,
They can be attracted.
they
And
wouldn't,
so
yeah,
it's really, I love that you have this sisterhood that spans the globe and it spans the age ranges. And you're not here to help. You're
yeah.
here to grow. And I want to say that I was just in a conference with Lynn Twist and Sarah Vetter. And they said that Lynn, when she went to the Amazon and these indigenous people finally let people, modern people in, like Lynn Twist, her husband, was the first really to go into this area. When they first started, the indigenous people said, we're not going to be in partnership if you came here to help us
Mm. Yeah.
or support us.
Yeah.
We're not in this relationship for that. We're in this relationship as equals and we're going to grow together.
Mm. I love
And
that.
so I find the same thing with our sisterhood. The white women are not in here to help me or support me.
Right.
And as Black women, we're not in here to help you or support you. It's not about that. It's about us raising our consciousness together,
Yes. So
together,
good.
Yeah.
human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, together is how we get our fucking power back. This
Right.
is how we get our power back in sisterhood. This is how we do it. This is radical shit because I know people think like, oh, we're just out here in our lingerie, running around, like being slutty at a certain age. And it's like, you know what? If you think that, they still got you.
Yeah.
They still got power over you. You don't get it yet. It's fucking amazing. It's a blast. You'll never have more fun. And that's just baseline. The There is so much depth of healing, sisterhood wounds, healing, like Annette had that experience with racism and the slavery. There is layers upon layers. You will not even know. One of the final things like I want to say is that this conversation is not about pretending the world isn't racist. We are very well aware and clear. We got you. We get it. We are very clear that that is where we are, and a lot of the world is still that way. But it's also about refusing to let racism, body shaming, ageism be the final authority on your joy, on your fucking pleasure. And as we saw with Annette, you can transmute it.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Annette, so much for being here, for being being part of this conversation, and for being the leader that you are out in the world. It is such a joy to have you. Do you have any final last words you want to share with our audience before we sign off?
This is the best, best podcast. 2 of the best goddesses on the planet. Thank you so much for having me. I love you.
Love you so much. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week. Remember, pleasure is not a luxury. It's the way back to yourself.
Yeah, bye.